Hello. In today's video, we'll be going over how to make a master detail form within the context of a many-to-many relationship. So let's get right into it. The first thing that we're going to go over is the tables that we'll be using today. So let's first look at the student table. And in this example that we'll be doing, it'll be from the perspective of a school, where students will enroll at the school. Each student has a student ID. In this case, the student ID is the primary key of the student table. Each student has a first name and a last name, an email, and a date of birth. Next, we have our courses, and basically, each course has a course ID, which is the primary key of this course table. Each course has a name, a description, a start date, and an end date. And then where our many-to-many relationship is created is in our junction table, basically our student courses here. So the many-to-many relationship happens because an individual course can have many different students enrolled in that course. And then on the other side, one student can enroll in many different courses. So that's where we get that many-to-many relationship. In addition, we also have a grade that a student receives for an individual course. So that is the student course junction table that we'll be using today. Next, let's go over the finished forms that we'll be trying to create in this video. So because this is a many-to-many relationship, there are two different ways that you can view this relationship. You can view it from the perspective of an individual course so that you can see all the different students that are taking that individual course, or you can view it from the perspective of an individual student. And then basically from that student, you can see all the different courses that they're taking. So let's first look at the course perspective, or what I called it, the professor perspective, because a professor would be running a course. So if we look here, for course ID number 1, mathematics, we'll see there are 4 different students that are enrolled in the course. We can see their grades, so if a professor wanted to change an individual grade, we would do that here. And we can see all the different information that's associated with a course as well. We can move on to the next course for physics. We can see all the different students that are enrolled in this course. So that's the course or professor perspective. Let's now look at the student perspective. So we'll see here, student ID number 1. We'll see a date of birth, first name, last name, and we'll see all the different courses that a student is taking. So this student, Alice, is taking 2 different courses. If we continue to the next student, there are 2 more courses that are enrolled. We'll see here that this student is only taking 1 course. So that is the student perspective. So now let's get into how to create something like this. And for that, we're going to go to our queries. So in order to create an individual form from one perspective, you need 2 different queries. So since we have 2 different forms, here we have 4 different queries. So let's start from scratch and create these queries. All right, now that we're starting from scratch, the first thing that we are going to do is create our first query. And in this case, we're going to create a query for example, our students. Let's start with the student perspective. So I'm going to call this query student because we're just getting the general information for a student. So let's press continue. Pretty easy here. We're just going to add in the students table, and we are going to add that table. And that is it for our first query. Next, we are going to add in basically the courses that are associated with a student. So we have to create a new query for that. So let's call this the student courses because we're getting the courses for an individual student. Get our connection, press continue, and now we're going to add our main table, and we're going to add in our junction table here. So we're going to get all that information, and the junction table is how we're going to connect an individual student to a course. We're going to add in a related table, which is our courses table. And this is important because we want to actually get the course information, not just the course ID. which is what the junction table has. So we're going to add in that table. And now what we need to do is add in a query parameter, because without a query parameter, we can only view all of the different courses that everyone is taking, right? We don't want that. We just want the courses that an individual student is taking. So how we add that query parameter is we go down here and add a new condition. And what we're going to do is we're going to have student ID is equal to, and then we're going to click here and prompt user for value. And basically this creates a query parameter where it matches on a student ID, and we'll only get the courses that have that student ID in the same row in the junction table. So we're going to press OK to that, and now we can create our form. So we're going to press new form, and let's call this student information. And the query that we're going to choose is our student query. We're going to use AI to lay out the form. Basically, the AI just makes it look nice, and we'll see here we have all of our different information. But to add in the courses, we're going to add a line items table, and we're going to add in our student courses here. And we can see it all works. We can also, on the right, exclude different fields if we don't want them. For example, if we didn't want our enrollment date, we can take that out. So we're going to X out of that. That is our student perspective done. Next, let's do the professor perspective or the course perspective. So we're going to use Query Builder. Let's call this course. And since it is the course query, we're just going to get the course table. We're going to get everything from it, add table, press OK. There is the first query of the second form done. Next, we're going to do our second query, and we're going to call this our course students. And we are going to press OK, add our main table. We're going to add our junction table, and we're going to add in all the different fields, add that table. Then we're going to add a related table. And in this case, we already have the course information, so we want the students. So we're going to add in the students table. We're going to add everything except the student ID because the junction table has the student ID. And we are going to press OK. Next, we need to add in our query parameter. So we're going to do that at the bottom here. We're going to add the condition. And we don't have the student ID, so we're not going to want to use that. We're going to want to use the information that we already have, which is our course ID, which we will then connect to all the different student IDs that are associated with that course ID. Use prompt user for value to make it a query parameter, and we're going to press OK. Now let's go back to our form, new form. Let's call this course information, and we're going to choose our course query. Use AI to lay out the form, and we'll see all of this is our course information. Let's add in the students by adding the course students, and we can see here are all the different students that are taking this course. If we move to the next one, those are all of those students taking that course, and we can see it just works. So that is how to make a master detail form in the context of a many-to-many relationship. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.